Wave 5, which is all about this idea of environment. The experience ecology. The experience ecology is the fact that we as humans, as we can actually outsource so much of our actions and doing on day-to-day, are hungry for even more experience. In fact, we're more willing to pay for the experience than even the product. I was in Australia as one of the first 10 people that bought the new iPad in March. That's how sad I am. I actually went and queued outside in Australia, and it actually launched in Australia a couple of days before America. Australia was the first place where it launched. And I remember going to the one place where they were selling it, and they had this huge queue that they had outside, and I was there first thing in the morning. I had a day in between some things I was doing. So I show up there, and everyone's getting into the queue. And so I'm getting into this queue, and you know how Apple is, right? So they've already got, everyone's in there, and I can see people who are actually buying it and coming out, and everyone's cheering them and everything, and I'm in this queue, and I'm like, oh, look, there it is, and they've already come up and said, which one do you want? And they've already given me this stuff, so I've already got a set, and they're bringing cookies in there now. It's like, you want a drink? You want cookies? And we're like, yeah. It's like they're making us feel good about lining up, about queuing. And here we are, they're standing there. We're feeling great about all of this. But then the most interesting thing happened, because I could see it's going to take me like an hour to get to the front of the queue. And as I was standing here, as we all were, there was two guys that were kind of like doing something or whatever they were. And then one of the guys goes running off, and there's a big shopping center we're in, and comes back and goes whispering. And the other guy goes, and they're just running off, and then they kind of stop and they turn around. And they say, excuse me, everyone, and they kind of get everyone's attention in the line. And they say, they go, round the corner is Joe's Radio Shack, which is kind of like the place where they kind of like do, kind of discount stuff. They've got the new iPad. So there's obviously some others who at the same time got the iPad, and we got the iPad, and it's $200 cheaper, right? So basically, if we all got out of the line and went over there, we could get the same iPad without any queue and save money. And we were all like just standing in this queue, like, nah. None of us moved. They were like, you guys are crazy, and they all went running off. And I had an hour to think about this. So like, why did none of us move? If we were here for the product, if the product's available cheaper with no queuing, what are we doing here? But it was the experience. It was just the fact that, like, hey, we're here for the experience. We're one of the first to buy it from Apple. And we get in there and we get the Apple bag and we get the whole thing. And we're willing to actually put time and effort into do that. And it's amazing how much we're willing to put ourselves out there for experiences that become our memories in life. We're willing to put more and more and more money into our memories. We're willing to put more, because we see more and more value in those memories, because things are moving too quickly. It's pretty much the only thing that we actually have as we grow. That becomes our identity. So how much are you making it a memory for the customers that you have to want to be working with you, to want to have that experience of working with you, so that someone comes along and says, I'm doing it cheaper than that person, they're saying, well, thank you, but I'm actually quite happy where I'm at. What is it that you could be doing which has nothing to do with your product or your pricing, but to do simply with that connection that you have with someone who feels that it's a privilege just working with you, just to have that chance to do business with you. And for me, that's one of the biggest keys in this first 5 of how we are having to become more human at what it is to actually create memories. Because at this point, computers cannot create memories, but we can. So here is a couple of examples of what this looks like when we start seeing the world out there that we're talking about become real with what we do. Now, experience ecology, let me just give you a very technical one first of all. This is from South Korea. And this is what's happening now when people used to think that products had to be physical products, that had to go physically to some place. And what happens when we take all these waves together and you actually show up where people are and you give them an experience, which even might seem kind of weird, but then you can see how it would work. This is a story of a supermarket in England that set up an experiment in South Korea. And this one just launched over this year, and you're going to see a lot more of this kind of thing around. But think as when you were watching this, what could you really do in your own business, just as simple as this is an idea that could transform how people can access your products?
South Korea is a unique market. Tesco has been evolving itself, adjusting to the local market. It even changed the name itself from Tesco to Home Plus. And at last, it grew to rank number 2 in Korea. But Tesco had to overcome one obstacle, a fewer number of stores compared to the number 1 company, E-Mart. Mission: could we become number 1 without increasing the number of stores? We made an in-depth study into Koreans once more. Koreans are the second most hardworking people in the world. For them, grocery shopping once a week is a dreaded task. So we decided to approach these busy and tired people. Idea: let the store come to the people. We created virtual stores, hoping to blend into people's everyday lives. Our first try was subway stations. Although virtual, the displays were exactly the same as actual stores, from the display to the merchandise. Only one thing was different. You use smartphones to shop. Scan the QR code with your phone and the product automatically lands in your online cart. When the online purchase is done, it will be delivered to your door right after you get home. People can relax more after work and on weekends.
실제로 보면서 사니까 진짜 더 좋은 것 같아요. 편하기도 하고.
Result: people can shop at Tesco Home Plus wherever they go without having to visit the actual store. Moreover, we could change their waiting time to shopping time. After this campaign, online sales increased tremendously. Through this campaign, 10,287 consumers visited the online Home Plus mall using smartphones. The number of new registered members rose by 76%, and online sales increased 130%. Currently, Home Plus has become #1 in the online market and is a very close second offline.
So you can already see how the future of display advertising is going to change. Why a simple idea like that, you could do that. You could already start this tomorrow. You could already go to a bus stop and get yourself a screen and put up your products and already have people buy them from there. So this is where we take a departure from everything we've been sharing about technology, which is where a lot of this has been talking about because it's the fastest growing in terms of leverage points, and just bring it back to some examples which have very little to do with technology, or at least first glance appear not to. This first example, these two examples, which are from my work in Bali. This is our resort in Bali. It's called Vision Villas, and if it was just like all the other resorts, we would be competing on price and everything like that. But we decided we wanted to make an experience, one that people wouldn't even worry if it's a different price point. They're still going to take their friends. They're still going to come back. As I was saying earlier, our question was not how do we get everyone to come. It was like how could we make the people who come go out and tell everyone else they got to come. So how do we do it? We basically connected up as a social enterprise with this man here called John Fawcett, who runs the John Fawcett Foundation that gives physical vision back to Balinese who have cataracts. They actually are able to have cataract surgery. They've got mobile bus clinics. And what we said was that if we call ourselves Vision Villas, where you come to get vision because you're going to have workshops that you can come to, and you're here to give vision, just by staying, someone's going to get their eyesight back. So it costs $100 for them to get their eyesight back. Someone can come and stay at our place. We donate that money across. And then basically that way we become a social enterprise that is supporting far more effectively than just going out and raising charity money. What was interesting about this was a couple of things. Not only did it allow us to do good, it actually made those people who come have such an experience of giving, they then did more. So the latest bus that they've now got that they've turned into another one of their mobile clinics was donated by one of our guests who happened to also own one of the largest bus companies in Jakarta, who said, okay, I'm so committed to this, I'm going to make that happen. As well as that, it made all the people who came, and many of them go out and tell their friends, you've got to go to this place because you can make a difference as well as you actually being there enjoying your holiday. So we're doing something very distinctive, which is an experience. And that experience is one which isn't lost on those who come to it. Even those who, like in the picture here, there's actually people that have actually physically gone to that mobile clinic to see it as well. I know Mark Victor Hansen, who's going to be on stage with me after lunch, he's been at one of these and he's actually seen it and seen the experience of being part of this as well. And that kind of experience, you're willing to put a lot of time and money and effort into to be part of in a way that you might not to actually go out and look for a product. Here's another experience. This one is the Green School. So the Green School, we have people from all over the world who've flown in for this experience because they know their child in the right environment is going to be able to achieve far more than in the wrong environment. They don't want their kids to grow up the way they did. It's time for a shift and change. And this is actually a picture from my son Luke's birthday that we held there, where we all went cycling, we went mud wrestling, because that's one of the things that we have in Bali. So we're all there mud wrestling. Like the kids had such an amazing time where the things that we're able to do, making natural chocolate, is so fundamental. And it's about getting back to the roots. That's why we have entrepreneur classes and everything we do. All my kids have got entrepreneurial businesses going on because entrepreneurship is the same roots as nature. So for example, in the art class, we don't start with toxic paints teaching how to paint. We start by saying, how do you create colors from nature? And we actually make all the paints from what's available in nature so that the kids know how to start with nothing and create anything. And in every aspect, that mindset of not having to wait for a job, not having to wait for the economy to turn around, not having to wait for someone somewhere to do something for you to do something, but to say whatever's going on, you can immediately shift it and make it happen, is an entrepreneurial mindset, which is also the fundamental basics that you're going to find in every little village in Africa, you're going to find right in the middle of the Amazon rainforest. They already think that way. They just don't have the same leverage mechanisms we have. So what we do when we go back to the basics of how already we used to do things naturally, add on to it all the artificial ways we can then leverage, as opposed to think that artificial way is the value, and then we're putting everything in its rightful place. So I could explain more about this, but I wanted to actually introduce you to someone here. There is my daughter Kathleen. She's 16 years old now, and this is one of the things that I introduced in there as the chairman of the school, which is basically the idea of a portfolio called a living portfolio, which becomes the #1 way we assess students who come through the school. So it's one thing to say that standardized testing is not the way to go. It's another thing to give an alternative. Well, if you're not going to do standardized testing, how do we test anybody? So the way we do it is by saying that every child has a way to actually have a place. This is her one. This is my daughter Teresa, who's 14. Clearly a very, very different one. And when you click through the different pages, look, she's got a whole different way of expressing herself. So this is about someone saying, okay, if I had my portfolio of who I am, that people come to, what do I want to say about what I stand for? What do I want to say about what I care about? What's my vision in life? What are my dreams? Every child has a dream board. Every child has a character or a qualities board about what's important to them. And then all the different things that they've done in achievements and all the things they want to achieve is in there too. And we've already set them up for life to say that this keeps evolving every single year all the way through until you leave this planet. That you have a place which becomes your scrapbook in a way, but it's a place that you'd want to show somebody who you're going to do business with or you're going to want to go for a job with. And similarly, they're going to want to see yours too. So in 10 years' time, if you're not collecting what you're about and your portfolio already in a way, like my one is my website. RogerJamesHamilton.com is not about a particular business. It's about me personally, what I stand for, and I will always be showing people that first before anything else to actually get to the essence of who I am. And if someone doesn't like that, then they should probably work with someone else instead of me. And if someone does, I'd love to work with them too. So for most of us, because we're so busy trying to get grades or trying to get a better business going, we miss the essence of who we are. And that's what this is about. One of the things they've got to do when they're here is put videos together. It's all about media. So even when they're in their like 5, 6 years old, they're already putting class videos together that then they get to see and the parents get to see and are there for the rest of their lives as well. So when my daughter first got there, Kathleen, when she was 13, she was going out to an event in China where basically it was for students to talk about who's making a difference in the world. And she had to put a video together about something making a difference in the world. So she comes to me and says, "Dad, what should I do?" And I said, "Well, why don't you do something about your school? Just put something together." So she went and just used a Mac and just used the iMovie on that and put a bunch of images together and cobbled it together and put some words together. And when I saw it, I cried. Because this is a child looking at the world from the point of view of someone who already is becoming a guardian for the next generation and understands enough in the essence of who we are as to what we have to do as humanity. And I believe all children can do that. They already do that. We just got to get out of their way to let that happen. So I wanted to show you this video as a way for you, as we get into the future presence part before lunch, for you to say, okay, what size bucket do you want to fill within this life while we're here? This is her view of how Green School is making a difference in the world. And most of it is a song with some images, but hopefully from this you'll get the essence.
People saving whales and giving your thanks to our seas. In my respect to the ones in the forest, standing up for our old trees. Them giving food to the hungry, hope to the needy, give life to a baby, give careful free, 'cause there's freedom around us. We have everything we need, and I will care for you, 'cause you care for me, and we all have opinions. Some of them get through, but there's better people with more good to do, good to do. What I have could be a message, or just some words from my heart. My respect to the ones making changes for other lives. They'll give their own, like in food to the hungry, hope to the needy, life to a baby, giving careful free, 'cause there is freedom around us. We have everything we need, and I will care for you, 'cause you care for me, and we all have opinions. Some of them get through, but there's better people with more good to do, good to do. While our world, it keeps spinning round and round it goes. Human nature keeps spreading its disease, and our children keep growing up with what they know, and what we teach, and what they see. And it's only a question of the time we have, and the lives that our children will lead, 'cause they can only keep growing up with what they know, and what we teach, and what they see. Like giving food to the hungry, hope to the needy, giving life to a baby, giving care for free, 'cause there is freedom around us. Everything we need, and I will care for you, 'cause you care for me. We all have opinions, some of them get through, but there's better people with more good to do, good to do. Oh, good to do.
We were very excited this Earth Day that just went by, because we had a special visitor all the way out from America who runs the US GBC, which is the Green Building Council here in the US that certifies all the schools to be greener. And she came out and was just blown away by the place, but she came out deliberately to give us an award, which was the greenest school on Earth, which she kind of came and brought to us. We thought was awesome. Very cool. So from small beginnings, any one of us who holds onto the heart of what we're doing and what we want to do can make that connection to the future by just looking upstream as opposed to across the river.